So in the world of trading card games, there's a category of cards called misprints. Misprints are cards that have printing errors that were supposed to be discarded before release. However, they somehow made their way into the booster packs and into collector hands. If you've been around the Yu-Gi-Oh hobby, you would have seen two specific cards that I'm talking about. The first card is an effect monster with the picture as well as the text box of Gate Guardian from Meta Raiders. However, it has the title being misprinted as Tri-Horn Dragon. The second card is a fusion card with Thousand Dragon as well as a Thousand Dragon text box. However, that's misprinted for Gaia, the Dragon Champion. These two cards are some of the most elusive misprints in the world of Yu-Gi-Oh! They go for thousands of dollars. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Gate Guardian and Thousand Dragon wrong name misprints, where they come from, their history, as well as what kind of price tag we can expect if they were to come on the market today. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so let's talk about where the cards come from, their history, and how they came on the market in the first place. So these cards were initially listed as uncut sheets on eBay around 10 to 12 years ago. I'm pretty sure the person who listed these was King Pokemon or Gary from Pawn Stars. As that guy had so many uncut sheets from back in the day, it's kind of ridiculous, to be honest with you. He's the owner of the LOB first edition uncut sheet, and he was the owner of this uncut sheet as well. Now this sheet is not the only one of its kind. There's actually two copies of it that existed back then, and they were both purchased by the person who I talked to in order to get this information from King Pokemon himself. Back in the day, what happened was he actually purchased these two uncut sheets with the intention of selling one for double the price so that he can keep the other one for free. However, not a lot of people were interested in uncut sheets back then. Not a lot of people were interested in misprints. So after months of nobody purchasing this sheet, the owner decided to do the unthinkable, which is cut this uncut sheet himself. One sheet was taken to Staples in order to cut it, and then the other one was hung up in his room next to his other uncut sheets. Now both sheets are identical, and the one that was taken to Staples to get cut had 48 sets of each of these cards. So there's 48 Gate Guardians and then 48,000 Dragons, all of which are misprinted with the wrong name. I would assume that that's the main reason why these sheets were supposed to be discarded. I'm guessing they were leaked from the factory into the public, but that's actually where these cards come from. So after the horrific deed was done, we now have one uncut sheet that remains in existence, and then the other one is cut up into 48 sets, and they were all sold for about $100 a piece back in the day. But that's pretty much the history of the sheets. I mean, it's not really like that crazy, but I just thought it was interesting to bring up and give you guys the backstory of how these cards came to be. What I want to get into now is taking a close-up look at these cards, their features, what makes them unique, and then we can talk about how much they go for in the aftermarket. Shout out and thank you to Iris from my Discord. He's the one that actually hooked us up with copies of these cards so that we can take a closer look. So this video couldn't be possible without him. Now let's head over to the tabletop view so I can show you guys just how unique these cards are, because there's really nothing like them. Let's get into that. Alright, so these are the two cards that we're going to be talking about today. As you guys see, like, these are truly magnificent specimens. By the way, if you're interested in picking up some of your own badass sleeves like these are the Blue Rain sleeves. You'll find them at strictlysealedinc.com. But yeah, plug aside, let's get into taking a closer look at these cards, because the wrong name is not actually the only thing wrong on them. So let's unravel it real quick from the sleeve. And the first thing that you're going to see is, obviously you can see here it says Tri-Horn Dragon. But not only that, you'll see that the hollow foil pattern is actually going in the wrong direction. You'll see it's going from the top left to the bottom right. Usually the secret rare pattern goes from the bottom left to the top right. So that's a very interesting misprint right there. You would know though, however, if you watch my other videos, that a lot of the 2002, 2003 cards came with this issue straight from the pack. So this is not an anomaly just to this card. Another thing that you'll see that's different about this card is the fact that it does not have the Eye of Anubis stamp at the bottom right. This is probably because this sheet was scrapped before that part was stamped on. They realized that they made a mistake here and they pretty much scrapped these cards. Another notable thing that you'll see is the bottom left does not have a number code. This happens for some cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not sure why. I believe it's because this card might have been a Tokyo Dome prize card. However, that doesn't really make sense as well because Thousand Dragon does not have this. This is the first edition copy, as well as the unlimited misprint copy doesn't have that as well. So if somebody knows why some cards don't have that serial number at the bottom left, I would love to be enlightened if you can comment that down below. Now, the last difference that you're going to see between this card and a regular first edition Gate Guardian is the square corners. And this is obviously because it was hand cut. It was not done in the factory. And obviously there's no way to replicate the corners of regular Yu-Gi-Oh cards. That curve at the corner right there that you see, it's really hard to replicate if you don't have the original molds. It's something that is trademarked by Konami. Not a lot of companies can replicate it. So this right here is an example of what happens when you hand cut something off an uncut sheet. One thing that's important to note is, again, because this was hand cut, you're going to see that the centering on it is absolutely atrocious. I feel like the original owner and the person who cut this sheet could have done a better job with that. I feel like this is actually like quite bad. And because of this, I mean, it does detract a little bit from the eye appeal. The whole frame of the picture is like really lopsided. I'm not a fan of that. But again, it's really hard to be picky when there's only 48 of these cards in existence. You'll also find that most of them have this exact same cutting, right? Because again, there's only one sheet here and there's no other way to get these cards. So you'll find one side as well as the side adjacent to it always be super skinny, while the other opposite side would be super thick. And you'll see that both on these cards right here. And you'll note that again, even Thousand Dragon has the reverse foil misprint as well as the wrong name. Some other things to note is every single version of these cards is unlimited. No first edition cards were ever affected by reverse foil. Reverse foil only affects the unlimited copies of certain cards. But that's pretty much it in terms of like taking a look at these. A lot of these are in terrible condition. You will see here like this has so many scratches. I mean, this is actually pretty nice. The corners are really clean and crispy for having square cut corners. But I don't think most of them are like this, and a lot of them would probably be around the PSA 8 or LP condition in my opinion. One thing I can add here, because we're talking about PSA, is some of these have been graded by PSA. However, that was before PSA realized that these cards are not actually official releases. PSA only grades officially released cards. So because of this, this would fall under the counterfeit category, as this was done after the fact. So if you ever see one of the 48 copies in a PSA case, I highly suggest you look up the cert number and you would see what I'm talking about, because you're not going to be able to look up that cert number. It's completely discontinued. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't really have too much more to say about these two cards. They're extremely unique and a very iconic piece of history. Are they officially released? No, but they are incredible card stock because they were produced by Konami themselves, so they look like real Yu-Gi-Oh cards. It's just, again, there's that stigma behind them, and that's why a lot of misprint collectors choose to ignore these when they're looking at cards that they want to collect and creating like kind of a master set of every misprint that occurred in Yu-Gi-Oh! In my opinion, I think that these are fantastic collectibles. Me personally, I don't think that they would fit in my collection. However, if you are collecting reverse foils, in my opinion, I think these are great additions to have. And if you are collecting wrong name or misprinted names, I think that these are must-have staples as well. In the aftermarket, these go for about $1,000 to $2,000 each, and you'll usually find them sold as a set because, again, when they were cut from the sheet, they were originally sold as a set as well. There's clearly a lot of demand for two non-official cards to hit the price tag of $1,000. So even with my opinion to the side, just from the market price of these two cards, you can definitely tell that there's a lot of love for them. A lot of people seek them out, and if you were to find them in the wild, I highly recommend you pick them up. Again, there's only 48 of them in existence, and because of this, I think that that alone creates a huge level of demand. But that's pretty much it from me. That's the Gate Guardian as well as Thousand Dragon wrong name misprints. If you guys enjoyed the video, you can hit the like button, Subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and comment down below your thoughts on these. Should PSA grade them? Do you think that they're official cards? They are produced by Konami, but they're not cut by them. In my opinion, I don't think that they are, but let me know your thoughts down below. If you want to support me further, I have a Patreon, and you can also use the links to shop. You can pick yourself up your own Spectrum sleeves that I make myself. These are extremely high quality and they look completely badass in your binder. But that's pretty much it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed and I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.